This is Charles Johnson, National Editor of Farm Journal and Top Producer magazines. I'm in Greeley, Colorado today, talking with Mark Sponsler, the Chief Executive Officer of Colorado Corn. Mark, it's time for corn planters to be rolling here in Colorado. Could you tell us what's on Colorado corn producers' minds right now, and kind of what the outlook for corn here is?
Well, we've been blessed, Charles, with very good moisture early this spring, so producers are getting their equipment rolling now, and some of them have been held out of the fields for moisture considerations, and that's a very positive thing for producers in Colorado. I think it means that with the good moisture, the good snowpack, and relative optimism about the year's water supply, I think there's a feeling of optimism about potential for this year's crop yields. It's always very important to have good moisture at planting, and that sets the stage for some of the most critical time of the year. During the early seedling development to set the stage for good yields. So I think there's good optimism about the coming year's crop. Prices are trending in the right direction, so I think we'll see our acres hold relatively steady, and as always, producers working to keep their costs down, and but most of that stage has been set. So I think there's a general feeling of optimism, and guys are, I think they're kind of day length affected. Once it starts to get nice, they've got to get out there and start stirring around. They're creatures of habit and very traditional oriented. So I think they're relieved to be out in the field finally.
We've had a 7-year drought here. Hopefully we're on the tail end of it. It's a bit unusual to have good moisture at this time of year, isn't it?
Well, it can. It certainly has been for the last roughly 8 to 10 years to have good moisture this time of year. So that's always encouraging. A lot of our producers of corn also grow wheat, and we're seeing. These are very timely moisture events for the wheat crop. We also typically get some moisture towards the end of May. So if that trend holds true, it'll be the start of a potentially very good year. And as you know, all across the country, it's really damage control from the time you put the seed in the ground. So but certainly spring is a critical time from a plant development standpoint to be able to make the most of the yields that are genetically made possible. So it's I would say there's optimism, and certainly the moisture is a welcome change from the last 10 years trend.
Well, it's great that things do look positive right now for corn growers here. The corn price right now, the market is down considerably from where it was a year ago at this time, but that has not been a factor in reducing acreage here, as I understand it, to a great extent. How are these markets affecting the farmers' thinking as they go into this season?
Well, in this part of the country, Charles, we need to really see between $4 and $5 a bushel to be confident at making any money. There's increased costs for irrigation in the semi-arid high plains that we live. However, with that comes some benefits as well. We have 320 days of sunshine out of a year that make it possible for some of the outstanding yields we have, so long as we can keep it irrigated appropriately. So there's benefits of consistency and quality and higher yields that come with farming in this area. And price, like I said, we need to be in that $4 to $5 range to have a chance to make a living consistently. We're on the bottom end of that right now.
What's the basis situation here in Colorado for these growers?
It's generally been pretty strong, and certainly with the ethanol plants that have come into production in the last 5 years, that has improved our basis situation a little bit. So it's positive, and typically we'll kind of float in the 15 cent to to 15 to 50 cent range, depending on the time of year that we're talking.
Now you have 3 ethanol plants here in the state of Colorado. Could you talk a little bit about them, where they're located, and how much capacity do they have?
Sure. We've got 3 ethanol plants currently in the state, one in Yuma, one in Sterling, and one in Windsor, Colorado. So they're all in the northeast quadrant of the state. Each of them are plated at about in the range of 40 to 45 million gallons per year, and I believe that they're last I heard they were all 3 operating pretty close to that 45 million gallon rate. A large share of the corn that they process comes from out of state, but I'm going to estimate between 10 and 20% of the corn that they process comes from local sources. So they were strategically located to be able to take advantage of unit train shipments from the Midwest. So a good chunk of the corn that they process will come anywhere from Nebraska to Iowa to Missouri, Kansas.
Really? So they provide a good market for you, which was not there a few years ago. So
it's been an enhancement. We've looked at some economic evaluations that say that they've probably added between 8 and 15 cents per bushel to the local markets.
you know, we're here in this economic recession, which is having a big effect on markets in general around the whole world. A banking failure here in Colorado has been in the news quite a bit lately. Has that affected farmers here very much? Could you talk about the impact that's having on farmers in the state?
I think it's going to have a tremendous impact. And Charles, we're still on the front side of really feeling the effects of that. But there's definitely a rumbling going on where producers. This bank closure came in a particularly bad time of year. As your listeners know, this is a time when producers need to be out, putting seed in the ground and doing the things that they do to make a living, not trying to find a new bank to get operating money from. So it's put a tremendous hardship on the producers who relied on that particular bank for their operating loans, I'm really concerned. I didn't realize the size of New Frontier Bank. I didn't realize how many producers were likely to be affected by the closure of that bank until the numbers started coming out in the papers. And it's going to take some time and it's going to be no small task for local banks to absorb the customers that did business at New Frontier Bank, and they may have to, it may have to go out beyond local banks in order to absorb that. And it's a very significant distraction for these operations, and if some of them are not able to get their operating credit lined up at other banks, I'm really not sure what steps they will have to take. I'm really hopeful that this is a situation where our government can step in and help facilitate the process for these folks to get operating money, because there's a lot at stake. There's literally billions of dollars worth of agricultural produce that is on the line here.
Well, when your operating money dries up at a crucial time like this, you're in bad shape.
Yeah, it's a very serious situation. I think over the next 2 weeks, we're going to learn a lot more about how serious it is.
Okay, Mark, we'll appreciate you taking time out to talk with us today. This is Charles Johnson reporting from Greeley, Colorado, for the editors of Farm Journal and Top Producer magazines.